Okay, so here we are, still in Dread Palace hard mode. We're going to be taking a look at this fight from the DPS perspective. We'll be going through all the mechanics. Not a lot for Tyrans, but ways to optimize your DPS, mostly through minimizing movement. So for Bestia, it was mostly efficient target swapping and AoE priority. But for Tyrants, it's going to be how to survive and how to move less and not kill the group, basically. Um, Again, this is the same group with a gargantuan amount of DPS. We actually 7-man this with a lot of time to spare. It was not even a fair fight for this guy. But it does show off a lot of the mechanics that you're going to see and have to deal with in this fight. So, just as a brief overview, he's got really 3 major mechanics that you're really going to have to. Well, 4, yeah, we'll say 4 major mechanics that he's going to have to deal with. So, for starters, he's got his cleave, which is really important for melee DPS. Not so much for ranged DPS, but you'll still have to be aware of it on occasion. It's a very wide cleave. It's kind of a little bit of a conal, where it's very wide in the case that if you're melee and you're standing 90 degrees, that is to his like direct left of his arm, you could potentially get hit by his thundering blast. So you want to make sure that you're not standing anywhere in front of him. You know, if you just divide his field of vision by 180 degrees, you don't want to stand anywhere in front of him at all. You want to stand, you know, as close to behind him as possible. Now, the other, the very light mechanic that you have to worry about is affliction. It's 2 dots that go out. They don't tick for very hard, but it does add a little bit of stress on the healer. So if you have cooldowns that you can use to help out with your damage taken per second, it goes a long way, because healers already have to deal with a lot of damage coming onto the tank and periodic raid-wide damage from his slam. And you want to get into the habit of it anyway, because in Nightmare, people take more damage from other things. And that dot ticks even harder in Nightmare. So you want to get in the habit of actually popping cooldowns for that dot if you have it. Especially if you're at low health, because you could potentially get hit by a whammy. You could have the dot, get a couple ticks, get slammed, maybe take a cleave, and the healer's already dealing with, you know, damage from the boss. So, you know, there's that you want to deal with, right? So his other mechanics, his big one is simplification. If you get simplification, you want to get it to a platform. Now, a good rule of thumb for taking platforms to simplification is the farthest platform away from you. The second rule is no bridges, right? So this should be the last piece you want to take. You want to take all these ones, or rather, if I use these ones as an example, you don't want to take this one or this one until all 6 of these are gone. So this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. If all 6 of those are gone, then you can take these 2, right? You don't want to cut them off. You don't want to potentially cut off tiles that you might need in the future. Same thing for the middle. The middle you kind of want to squeeze, kind of like as a from the left and the right. So these 2 before these 2 before these 2 before these 2. But by the time you get here, you should switch to the other side. So it's these 2 before these 2 before these 2. That's kind of how hard mode goes. Nightmare is a completely different story, but I'm not going to get into that. The really important thing for simplification is that you react as quickly as possible. As soon as you get that dot, you want to move to the tile that you want to take, and you should know at all times which tile you want to take. You shouldn't have to think about which tile you want to take. As soon as you get simplification, you should already know. But here's the thing. You want to get as much damage on Tyrants as possible, right? So you need to know how far and how long it's going to take you to get to that tile. So if that means you have to clip a cast to get to it in time, know that you have to do that, because you shouldn't have to clip a cast. You should be in range of a tile you want to take in, you know, less than 3 seconds, right? So if you're in the middle of a cull or an unload, which you should be using on the move anyway, or any other cast, you shouldn't have to clip it. You should be able to finish it and then get to it in time, especially if you have movement speed. buffs, and you don't have to use movement speed buffs for literally anything else in this fight. So use them for getting to your thing in simplification. The other thing is Inferno, which a lot of people could screw up really easy. The optimal way for Inferno is that the ranged DPS and the healers are stacking on top of each other pretty much at all times. There's really no need in this fight to be splitting up. Even in this fight of really good players, everybody's kind of split up, which there's really no need for. But ranged DPS and healers should be grouped together on roughly the same tile, and they should be grouping on top of the same corner, kind of like where I am, for Inferno. Once all the Inferno debuffs are gone and they, are collected there, everybody could move out of them. What you don't want to see is 4 people not noticing they have Inferno all spread out here, and then they drop and they're like, oh shit, and then they move, and then somebody gets simplification. Now they're cut off. They can't cross this bridge, so they have to take some shit over here, and that's bad. So you want to keep them stacked on top of each other, which is good. That's pretty much it. Let's get into the fight, because I'm talking too much. Nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to listen to me. So we're gonna get in here and we're gonna watch this fight, and I'll probably not pause it as much as I did for Bestia. Because there really isn't all that much going on. The beginning of the fight is probably the best part to pop raid cooldowns like the rest of the raid is doing right now. We got 3 pretty much right off the bat. Not exactly at the same time, but it's good enough that they're all pretty much there right off the bat. So that's good timing for the raid buffs. That's what you want to see. You can see here the healer gets the first one, puts it on the one next to the door. That's perfect placement. That's the farthest away right there. Doesn't cut anything else off. Everyone else is going to have a much easier time. Infernos come out. 4 people have it. I have it. I'm just chilling on this corner. I don't really need to move. You see they both were stacking on top of each other, and they just placed them right there. We got a little bridge here so we can move. So we're fine. Person who died is just the DC, so we don't really care all that much. You can see I'm facing the back. I'm not facing the boss because I'm waiting for simplification. If I get a simplification, I'm immediately rolling to the back and then coming back into the fight, so I don't have to wait. So I'm already prepped and ready. Now he cut us off to the other one, but it's fine because we can go ahead and move to the other side once that's all done. You see we screwed one of the tiles up because the DC was actually standing there at the time. So it looks like melee got one of these, and a tank managed to get one of those in the back. You see the other tank is grabbing the other back one, which is really good timing. And you see everybody's taking tiles that are farthest away. No bridges, not cutting anybody off. He's taking that one. This is what you want to see when you're dealing with Tyrants. So you can see all the melee are all stacked up, and they're all behind the boss. You see Infernos go out. Bad placement for those Infernos, but you can see they still kind of got room, right? This is actually really bad placement, but the melee seem like they're doing a good job at dodging those cleaves. So the other round of Infernos going out. I got this round as well. I don't stack with everybody else, but the cool thing about this one is that, yeah, they're all spread out, but we have access to all of the tiles, so it's fine. Also, I'm kind of terrified because I'm just surrounded by fire, which is fine. So simplification going out, I'm already where I want to be, so I don't have to clip any casts or anything like that. I use the time between moving to do my dots, because my dots are instant cast, so I can just go ahead and refresh them instead of having to, delay lethal shots or something like that. I could just do something useful like refreshing my dots. So we got a couple cleaves there, but it's fine because it looked like it was just both the tanks. So we've got a little bit cut off, but it's fine because we can actually jump to diagonal ones, so it's not too big of a deal. Everybody's roughly grouped up, so nice for heals. I'm actually going to pause it here. I'm going to backpedal just a little bit. So we stacked up for Inferno, right? And you could see right here, his Inferno dropped, but I still have like 3 seconds on mine. So the thing about Infernos is even though they kind of drop at different times, the delay on them is so long that the first one that drops still won't cause damage until the last one actually drops. So you don't need to panic about moving out of an area because you still have a debuff, but one's already dropped, right? So you can see he already moves out, but I'm staying there because I still got this thing. I know I'm safe, and I got my roll. So as soon as it drops, I'm gone, right? I roll, and I'm gone. Now rolling is a little bit of a loss in DPS, but I decided to play it safe. I didn't want to take any ticks of damage. You never know if you decide to walk out of an Inferno, take a tick of damage, also get a dot, and then Slam comes around the corner, that could easily be most of your health, and you don't want that. So I clipped a lethal shot there to get in quicker. That's a mistake on my part. What I should have done is actually waited for an instant. But it's fine. Not too much of a loss in DPS. Yep, and there I go. So we'll backtrace that one. We'll take a look at exactly what happened. So I had pretty much the perfect storm right here. So he he stuck around. This is one of the things that sometimes happens in Tyrans. Tanks had a swap. This tank right here had the boss, but got simplification. So this tank taunted off, but not before Tyrans followed this tank to this platform, while this tank taunted off. What this caused was Tyrans to flip to this platform, but look at this tank, which, as he's casting his cleave, is now facing the entire group. Now, unfortunately, I'm already kind of low on health because of this dot, and because of a slam probably just went out. So this is pretty much going to kill me. So it takes me down pretty much my entire health, and then smash followed by a dot tick kind of finishes me off, which is fine because he's already at 2%. I don't really care. Not even worth combat resing at that point. So I just watched them kind of finish up the fight, and we're good. There's not much I could have done about that. Had I reacted quicker, I probably could have rolled. That's something I definitely would have done had he been much higher in health. If I actually needed to be alive, I probably would have taken better care of myself. But I didn't really care all that much. And when you don't care, you kind of get lazy. So, yeah, definitely if you see the boss actually about to cleave you, you should probably pop something for it. Definitely pop some sort of defensive. To survive that, I could have popped Entrench, which reduces AoE damage taken, so Slam would have been reduced, and so would have the Thundering Blast. I could have popped Evasion, which would reduce the force damage from Thundering Blast. Shield Probe, I don't even know if it was up, but if it was up, that definitely could have helped. And of course, Roll would have negated pretty much all the damage entirely. The tricky thing about Roll in Tyrans is finding a good place for it. So if you're, if you're down on platforms, you kind of have to find a good angle to roll. Now, obviously, rolling off the edge is probably going to be better for you if you're about to get one shot, because you're just going to take fall damage, and it's not much fall damage. If you're already low on health, it might kill you. But it's better than the alternative, which is taking a cleave with a dot, which is most certainly going to kill you, which it did. So that's pretty much it for Tyrans. I talked a lot for it, even though it's a relatively simple fight, but it's kind of easy to screw up if you're not really paying attention to really simple mechanics. As a bonus, I'll talk about this right here. As you can see, and we're killing the trash on the left, but I have my cursor over the interrogator here, which is whirlwinded, mostly because even though this group is really good, every once in a while someone will just accidentally, target the wrong thing. right? And if that happens, you know, you want to be prepared. So I was totally prepared to target this interrogator if he started casting and hit him with a flashbang. And at that point, I probably would have gone up to it once the flashbang, you know, fell off. I probably would have, you know, used my not shiv, but decapitator, whatever the new ability is. I have no idea. To stun it and maybe a knockback, something like that, right? Just to control it, just in case, you know. So that's a good thing to do for trash. That's pretty much it for this one. We're going to be moving on to Calfea, so hope to see you there. And as always, leave critique down below. I am what you could call an idiot. So if there's any mistakes that I made in the video, anything I could have done better that I didn't already mention, because there was a ton of things I could have done better, you know, feel free to leave them below. So have a good one.